a massive shift is underway in North American trade. 94% of U.S. aluminum exports have vanished almost overnight, a collapse so severe that analysts are calling it one of the biggest trade crashes in decades. Prices have surged more than 20%, sending shockwaves through the economy. Small businesses are gasping for air. Families are paying billions more just to keep cars on the road, homes under construction, and even soda cans on the shelf. Meanwhile, Canada is surging ahead. While the U.S. stumbles under its own policies, Canada has invested billions into its aluminum industry and secured global trade deals that push it to the forefront of the market. The question looming over Washington now is simple. Has the United States just handed over the future of its aluminum industry to its northern neighbor? The 50% tariff that changed everything. When the Trump administration introduced a 50% tariff on imported aluminum in 2024, it was framed as a bold, patriotic move, a way to shield American metal producers from foreign competition. The theory seemed straightforward: make foreign aluminum more expensive, and U.S. producers would finally have the breathing room to compete. But almost immediately, the opposite happened. Within just a few months, U.S. Census Bureau data revealed aluminum prices had jumped 22% nationwide. For an economy already strained by inflation and global supply chain issues, this spike landed like a hammer blow. Industries that relied on aluminum weren't protected. They were punished. Industries in crisis, auto plants in Michigan, packaging companies in Ohio, and construction firms across the country suddenly faced ballooning costs. For these businesses, aluminum wasn't a luxury item. It was the foundation of their operations. When prices jumped, they had only two options: absorb the losses and risk collapse, or pass the costs on to consumers. Most had no choice but to raise prices. Before long, Americans saw the results at checkout counters. Simple six-pack of soda became more expensive. Car repairs cost more. Home renovations suddenly seemed out of reach. Builders were especially hard hit. Aluminum is essential in modern construction, from windows and siding to roofing and electrical wiring. A 22% surge in costs stalled projects and crushed profits, hitting home builders just as the housing market was starting to recover. For small businesses, the pain was even worse. A family-owned shop making aluminum doors or a small brewery buying thousands of cans per week couldn't survive on shrinking margins. Some scaled back operations. Others shut their doors for good. The policy that was meant to protect us workers ended up hurting them instead. Canada strikes back. While American industries struggled, Canada made its move. Canada supplies over 70% of all aluminum used in North America. When Washington raised tariffs, it wasn't hurting a distant competitor. It was attacking its closest and most reliable supplier. Quebec, the heart of Canada's aluminum industry, responded decisively. Aluminarial Wet, one of the region's biggest producers, announced a $1.1 billion modernization project, powered by Hydro-Quebec's clean and inexpensive hydroelectric energy. This wasn't just a defensive move, it was a leap forward. By investing in green, energy-efficient facilities, Canada positioned itself as a global leader in sustainable aluminum production. While U.S. companies were drowning under higher costs, Canadian plants were becoming stronger, cleaner, and more competitive. Canadian officials didn't hold back either. Quebec's economy minister reminded Washington that the U.S. cannot meet its aluminum needs alone. No matter how high tariffs climbed, American industries would still rely on Canadian imports to survive. Canada's modernization efforts sent a powerful message. Tariffs could not break decades of economic interdependence. Instead of retreating, Canada doubled down, not only defending its industry, but expanding its global reach beyond the United States. Ripple effects on American consumers. The real cost of the tariff was on tea. Just felt in factories. It landed directly in household budgets. Analysts estimate U.S. consumers now pay an extra $2.5 billion every year due to higher aluminum prices. It shows up everywhere. Groceries, beverage companies pass higher production costs to consumers. Auto repairs. Aluminum body parts cost more, raising both repair and insurance bills. Construction home renovation projects are delayed or canceled because materials are too expensive. The result is a domino effect. Higher prices slow consumer spending, Businesses cut jobs to stay afloat. Local economies shrink as fewer paychecks circulate. The very policy designed to protect American workers ended up squeezing them instead. Canada's global playbook, while the US was locked in a trade war with itself, Canada quietly expanded its influence worldwide. In early 2024, Canadian exports to non-US markets surged by 18%. While shipments to the US fell to their lowest level since the pandemic, the UK increased imports of Canadian metals by 30%, attracted to Canada's stable and transparent supply chain. Singapore and Asia turned to Canadian crude oil, viewing it as a clean, reliable alternative to politically complicated US energy. Italy became a major buyer of Canadian aluminum and pharmaceuticals. Drawn by Canada's low-carbon production methods powered by hydroelectric energy, Japan boosted pork imports from Canada by 13%, citing its reputation for food safety and traceability. Canada successfully positioned itself as the safe bet in a world of unpredictable trade policies. Global buyers were willing to pay more for stability and transparency, and with every new deal, Canada's influence grew. The US faces a brain drain. Canada wasn't just exporting goods, it began importing talent. In a bold move, Canada announced fast-track project approvals and incentives for top researchers, cutting approval times from 5 years to just 2. For industries like biotech, green energy, and advanced materials, this was a game changer. While the US was bogged down by political gridlock and red tape, Canada offered speed, stability, and freedom. This opened the door to something Washington hadn't expected: a brain drain. Scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs began looking north, tempted by the chance to innovate without interference. When brilliant minds leave, they don't just take resumes with them. They take patents, ideas, and future industries. The trend continues. The US risks losing its innovative edge, falling behind in the very sectors that will define the global economy for decades to come. A trade war with lasting consequences. What began as a simple tariff has snowballed into a global shift in power. US consumers are paying billions more each year. American factories face layoffs and closures. Canada has strengthened its role as a global supplier and talent hub. The irony is hard to ignore. Policy meant to protect American industries has instead weakened them. While empowering America's closest ally and biggest competitor, the lesson is clear. Trade wars aren't fought in government buildings alone. They play out in grocery aisles, repair shops, and family budgets. As Canada builds a cleaner, more competitive aluminum industry and expands its global reach, the United States must decide whether to adapt or fall behind. Because in the high-stakes world of trade and innovation, standing still is the fastest way to lose.